The Undertaker names the toughest opponent of his WWE career, full breakdown and emotional reaction. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we've got some truly surprising and heartwarming news from the WWE Universe. For over 3 decades, he haunted the WWE landscape. A legend, a phenom, a deadman, but even legends have their limits. In a shocking and emotional revelation, The Undertaker, one of the most iconic figures in wrestling history, has finally named the toughest opponent of his WWE career. And no, it's not who most people expected. In this video, we break down The Undertaker's candid admission, the epic battles that shaped it, the psychology behind his answer, and the reactions from fans and WWE superstars alike. Stay tuned, because this one is personal. The legend of the Deadman, Mark Calaway, known around the world as The Undertaker, debuted in WWE in 1990. From his first walk to the ring at Survivor Series, he wasn't just a man, he was a myth. Over 30 years of dominance, 21 consecutive WrestleMania wins, and unforgettable storylines made him a household name in and out of the ring. From Hell in a Cell to Buried Alive matches, Taker wasn't just part of the WWE's greatest moments, he was the moment. He stood toe-to-toe with legends. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Kane, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and even modern-day stars like Roman Reigns and AJ Styles. So when someone like The Undertaker talks about the toughest opponent of his career, people listen. And when he finally revealed the name, it sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. The shocking admission, it happened during an exclusive interview on the 6 Feet Under with Mark Calaway podcast, his own platform where he finally speaks freely about his storied career. Fans were expecting the usual suspects. Maybe Brock Lesnar, who ended the legendary WrestleMania streak, or Shawn Michaels, who pushed him to his absolute limits in 2 of the greatest WrestleMania matches ever. But then, in a quiet and reflective tone, The Undertaker said, "If I had to name the toughest guy the first ever stepped in the ring with, it's got to be Mick Foley. The arena may have been empty, but the internet exploded. Why Mick Foley? Mick Foley, also known as Mankind, Cactus Jack, and Dude Love. A man who took punishment like no other, and smiled through it." The Undertaker and Foley's paths collided many times in WWE, but the most unforgettable was the Hell in a Cell match at King of the Ring 1998. Let's set the scene. June 28, 1998. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hell in a Cell, Undertaker vs. Mankind. Before the bell even rang, Mankind scaled the structure. What followed next would define both men's legacies forever. Undertaker threw Mankind off the top of the cell, 20 feet straight down through the announcer's table. If that wasn't enough, minutes later, Mankind climbed the cell again, only to be chokeslammed through the roof of the cage, falling onto the ring canvas with a sickening thud. His tooth was lodged in his nose. He was barely conscious, and yet, he kept going. Undertaker later said, "I was legitimately worried I had killed him, and he wouldn't stop. He kept getting up." That's not just toughness. That's another level of human will. Taker's explanation. In the podcast, Undertaker broke it down. He said toughness isn't just about strength. It's about pain tolerance, willpower, heart, and no one, not even Brock or Triple H, could match Foley in that regard. Mick Foley, Taker said, wasn't the most athletic. He didn't have the best body. But mentally, that man would go places that no one else ever dared to. He gave everything, every single night. He also recalled moments outside the ring. Backstage, Mick would be in unbearable pain. He could barely move, but the moment the curtain rose, he flipped the switch. That's what made him the toughest I've ever faced. Other possible names. Of course, the debate raged on. What about Shawn Michaels, the man who tested The Undertaker's storytelling ability like no one else? Their WrestleMania 25 and 26 matches are widely considered masterpieces. Triple H, they waged wars at WrestleMania 17, 27, and 28. In 2012, inside Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels as guest referee, it felt like the end of an era. Brock Lesnar, physically dominant, he ended the streak. He broke Taker's ribs, and possibly his spirit that night at WrestleMania 30. Kane, the brother, and the perfect foil to Undertaker's mythical persona. Their Inferno matches and Saga of Destruction are pure WWE storytelling magic. But despite these names, Taker stood firm. All of them were tough. But Foley was different. He didn't just survive the fight, he became it. Fan and superstar reactions. The wrestling world responded immediately. On X, formerly Twitter, hashtag Mick Foley trended for over 48 hours. Fans posted tributes to Foley's greatest bumps, his heart, and his incredible legacy. One fan wrote, "Mick Foley is the reason I fell in love with wrestling. He showed us pain, humanity, and joy, sometimes all in the same match." Even WWE Superstars chimed in. Edge posted, "Foley made us all better. He made you believe. There's no one like him." Randy Orton, who had a brutal feud with Foley in 2004, said, "Mick made me who I am. He made me a star by letting me destroy him. He's the toughest I've ever seen." And even Foley himself responded humbly on his own podcast. "To be called the toughest by The Undertaker, that's the greatest honor of my career. I'm not the most talented. But I always gave everything I had." The philosophy of pain. The Undertaker's choice also speaks to something deeper. The psychology of pain in professional wrestling. Pro wrestling is scripted, but pain is very real. Mick Foley was a man who treated pain as a canvas. He painted with barbed wire, flaming tables, and steel chairs. Undertaker admired that. He said, "You can't teach that kind of resilience. You either have it or you don't." And Mick had it in spades. He went on to say that Foley inspired him. "There were nights I questioned my own toughness after watching what Mick put himself through. He raised the bar in a different way. It wasn't about wins or titles, it was about how far you were willing to go to make people feel something." A final farewell. The Undertaker officially retired in 2020, at Survivor Series, 30 years to the day after his debut. He's had time to reflect, and naming his toughest opponent feels like closure. He said, "In some ways, Mick was my greatest rival. And in others, he was my greatest partner. We built something brutal, something beautiful, something eternal. It wasn't just about bumps or blood. It was about legacy. Two men who sacrificed more than just their bodies, they gave us their souls." Where are they now? Today, both men live very different lives. Mark Calaway enjoys retirement, raising his children and sharing wisdom on his podcast. He's embraced life after the ring, something many wrestlers struggle to do. Mick Foley remains active, writing, podcasting, and advocating for causes he believes in. He continues to speak at colleges, wrestling schools, and public forums about perseverance, mental health, and the real price of greatness. Their paths don't cross often, but the respect between them remains sacred. Legacy and lessons. So what does this all mean? When The Undertaker, the man who's battled them all, says Mick Foley is the toughest, he's reminding us that toughness